What's up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 14, episode 8. So let's get into it. Now, I know I'm not on camera. I'm just not in the mood. It's one of those weeks where I'm just not in the mood. But I'm gonna get this review out. So let's again get into it. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And first up, let's talk about Rachel shading Teresa. So she posted this to her social media where she said, giving Amalfi Coast, not giving a bottle of Blue Label. Girl, this whole entire situation was not that deep for y'all to be, when I tell y'all, I told y'all this is a Frito ass season because them arguing about this blue bottle is so stupid to me. Like, if you didn't want the bottle, you didn't want the bottle. If you didn't want to take the bottle, you didn't have to take the bottle. I just feel like we're arguing about something that's so dumb. And for Rachel to be acting like she's unbothered, it's giving very bothered. So next, let's talk about Watch What Happens Live. So Jackie and Jennifer Fessler were the guests for Watch What Happens Live last Sunday. And there's a clip that's kind of going semi-viral right now. So the title of the clip on Twitter says, Jennifer Fessler says Margaret Joseph never asked her to leave, #RHONJ, in the event of Louis Ruelas returning while Jackie Goldsnyder reveals Margaret asked her, #Watch What Happens Live. Now let me play that clip for you guys.
That Margaret has denied ever asking you both to leave the show if Louis returns.
Never ever asked me.
Jen Fessler.
Never. Jackie Goldschneider. She never
asked me.
She asked you, so she said if Louis comes back, so in other words, if Teresa comes back.
Right. She said she was very upset about Louis allegedly calling her son and said if Louis comes back to the show, we all have to leave.
That is not what she said to me.
Okay,
Maybe to Jackie.
Okay.
But what I had volunteered, because she was so upset, and it was her son. And I said to her, do not look at me like that. That is exactly how it went down.
Because I want to hear what you have
It's
to say.
100% true.
Okay.
She never asked me to not do the show again.
She asked me not to.
So the full question, because I know it got cut off based off of the way that I screen recorded. Let me find it for you guys. It's coming from the page that I sometimes reference over here called No Smoke No More, but it says question for Jackie and Jennifer Fessler from Bye Wig Hello Drama. Tamra Judge said on her podcast that Margaret denied ever asking you both to leave the show if Louis returns. Why is Margaret denying saying that? Now, I remember Jackie being the one that said that in her Page 6 interview, but anytime that Jennifer Fessler has talked about her relationship with Margaret as it pertains to the show and Teresa, she's always made it pretty clear that when she made mention about not interacting or never seeing these people again in the first episode, she meant it in the way of if Margaret left the show, I was going to leave with her. So I don't know. A lot of people feel like Jennifer Fessler is like backtracking now that she sees, I guess, because she wants to, be friends with Margaret again. I don't know. I just feel like the friendship dynamics on this show are all turned upside down. All right, y'all. So the episode opens up where it left off, where we have the continuation of John and Teresa going at it because Larry the Lobster and the Corpse Bride shouldn't have even been there. Shouldn't have even been there. Like, Rachel's not really speaking or speaking up, and you got Louis just sitting there doing the Beyonce mute challenge, just red in the face and nodding and smirking. Irritated with both of their presence, because what's the point of having a couple sit down if neither of the couples truly engage? Just stupid. So John gets up. Louis kind of follows after John, and I'm like, Louis, sit down. You ain't done much of nothing. Just sit down. And then John is talking about how, Teresa is the poster child for mortgage fraud. Teresa responds back by saying, and you're a drug dealer, and that was my husband. So as they're leaving, they took the Blue Label bottle, but they set it down at the bar downstairs. Shout out to the person that told me that on the last video, because I did not see that. But we see them place the bottle down. Rachel and John go outside, and they're basically talking about how Teresa pretty much like, Louis didn't say anything, and he was letting Teresa like take all the blame or like hang herself out to dry or something like that. And John was like, that wasn't a sincere apology. And then we see him hop in on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, and then they pull off. And then we have Teresa and Louis still upstairs in the private room. And Teresa's like, who does he think he is to be barking orders at me? Like, he don't know who he messing with. Louis talking about is giving like John think he on the episode of The Godfather. And I'm not gonna lie, the way John was saying, use guys and here's what we's and use is gonna do. I was like, yeah, I was like, John, do you? I don't think you talk like that. Like, I don't know. I feel like you playing up something, a stereotype, but I feel like that's not my community, so I can't really be offended or judged. But I was just kind of like, I don't think people talk like that anymore, sir. So they end up leaving. They see that the bottle was left down at the bar, so they take it with them. So yeah, everybody left the meeting in their feelings. Honestly, John came there to have a moment, and he had his moment, calling his baby mama a meth head, saying that the lady caused him to wrap his car around the pole, and it's by the grace of God that he's still here, calling Teresa the poster child of mortgage fraud. He had his moment. But I also feel like he did a disservice to himself, because John is complaining about them using his past against him. But in my mind, if you didn't want them to talk about it anymore, then you would have came to this sit down trying to like dead the situation and move forward. And I'm not saying move forward in the sense of becoming friends, but I'm saying like move forward as to the point we can be cordial and be in the same space with each other without it feeling weird. And I'm just like, you don't want that, so stop complaining. And I think that's why I don't like John or Rachel. I don't even like Teresa or Louis, but John and Rachel irritate me, because it's like in interviews y'all are talking about how y'all are making Teresa relevant and y'all are her storyline, when it's like, no, Teresa is beefing with damn near the whole cast. Like, she doesn't have to beef with y'all. Y'all need to beef with her to have a storyline. And it's just like, they irritate me. They're not interesting to me. And there was a Radar Online article that came out, and I talked about that in one of my The Drama videos, where I guess they're going to keep Jennifer Fessler, Dolores, and Rachel Fuda and Teresa, because Rachel is now the new Melissa, because I guess her and Teresa going to be going back and forth. But I'm like, their feud is not interesting to me, because it's clear to me that if John wasn't a part of this, Rachel would move on from this situation. But I feel like John is the one keeping this going, because Teresa came to that sit down to me kind of calm and ready to like move past it, to be honest. But it is what it is now. So the next scene we have is of Dolores with her mother and her daughter. So we all know her daughter is a veterinarian. We also find out that Frankie has a girlfriend, and they all like her. And so they're all sitting down to have lunch. Dolores says because her daughter works so much, that Tuesdays is the only time that she is free. So they try to have lunch together, just the three of the girls. And I said, okay, that's cool. So they sit down and they're talking about Frank and his engagement, but they bring up I guess Frank's dog. I can't remember the dog's name, but unfortunately the dog has like, I guess a tumor or basically cancer on its, like, I think they said trachea or esophagus. And so I don't know if the daughter, who's a veterinarian, Gabriella, if she's doing the treatment for the animal, but she's basically said most of the things that they're giving the dog is basically to keep her comfortable, but she's probably going to pass away soon. And Dolores, you know how Dolores feel about them dogs. She was all broken up about it. So instead of Frank proposing in the Bahamas, because I guess they had to change it because of the dog, he's going to propose at the house that he just got built for him and Brittany. So then that segues the mom and the daughter to be, well, really the daughter looking at Dolores about like, so when is Polly going to like propose to you? Like what's the hold up? And I'm not gonna lie, the mom's facial expressions and the daughter's facial expressions tickled me, because they both were looking at Dolores like, girl, you wasting time. You were wasting time being with this person. Because Polly wants to like have Dolores come into business with him, and Dolores is trying to make Paulie asking her to be his business partner equivalent to him allowing her to meet his kids. I said, girl, that is not equivalent. There's a lot of people that go into business with people like I'm like, Dolores, you sound stupid. Like, you're trying to bend yourself into a pretzel to validate the reasons why you're staying with this person. Now, I've seen a lot of people say that Dolores probably doesn't want to be married, but I also feel like I think she does. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it is giving that Dolores is being a pick me. Like, girl, you taking scraps when you don't deserve that. If you want to be married, there's probably plenty of men out there who would wife Dolores. Like, she's beautiful, she has a great body, she is very independent. Like, there's probably a boatload of men that would want to be with her in the way that she would want them to be, for her to just be settling for Paulie's big red self. But I just thought it was funny because the mom was like, girl, he ain't divorced that girl in 15 years. You think he gonna divorce? She was like, do you think he gonna divorce her anytime soon? And then we end up seeing Paulie come in and they like talk to him and all of that stuff. I don't know, girl. I don't know, Dolores. I would let him go. If I want to be married, then I would try to find someone that I thought was suitable to be married to and marry them. But I wouldn't just be twiddling my thumbs. But also, maybe Dolores don't want to get married and she just doesn't like talking about it. But then again, her discomfort with the conversation makes me feel like she wants to, and she's trying to like lie to herself, I guess. So then we get these two family scenes of Teresa and Rachel. We see Rachel with her daughter, her youngest daughter. You know, her, John, and the other kid are like in the den area, and they put her in like this physical therapy contraption to help her walk, because I guess she's having trouble with walking, as well as like, you know, she talked about it in the first episode about her speech because of the way her mouth is set up. So, you know, the little girl's been having trouble, but she seemed like a happy kid. So, you know, they're doing everything they can to make sure she's okay. Rachel's in her confessional talking about she's so happy to be away from Teresa, and Teresa is teaching her what not to be. I said, okay, Rachel. Because to me, Rachel and Teresa are acting like, because even in Teresa's, I'll talk about that. Let's talk about Teresa's sit down. Teresa is in the kitchen with her family. Melania talking about she gonna go to the college, that whatever college picks her, because they were talking about how Gabriella said college is hard, but it's fun. And Melania is like, that's because she picked a hard school. And so Melania was like, I'm gonna go to any college that picked me. I said, girl, that is not how you pick college, but okay, sis. And then they get a knock at the door, and it's a barber. We know that Louis, I think he's his oldest son, has a disability, and he is very comfortable with this one barber that cuts his hair. So they always have him come over once a month to do his hair. And so everyone's in the like glam room watching the barber cut Nicholas's hair, and they're like having a cute little family moment. Cause I, you know, like I said, I don't really like Teresa, but something about children around Teresa that she is very kind towards, because, and I think it says a lot that Nicholas likes her. And Louis' other son, because I feel like kids aren't really good at like faking their feelings. And I know that Nicholas, I think is like in his 20s. I think he's like 21 or 22. And then the other kid, I think might be like 17 or 18. But I feel like if we don't like most people, especially when it comes to their parents, if they don't like their parents' significant other, it shows no matter how old you are. And it seems like they really like her. So I think that's great that they have fostered an environment where the kids feel comfortable around each other. So Teresa's in her confessional saying John Fuda was like a yappy dog and her family is the only thing that matters. But I just feel like both Rachel and Teresa are acting like they was on the battleground. Like that whole situation was a knockdown, drag out fight, and it really wasn't. Like Rachel ain't say much or nothing. Teresa was somewhat holding her own against John. John was the main one that was yapping. So I'm just like, both of y'all are being overly dramatic. But I feel like because there's so much tension and animosity in this group, and it's not a real friend group anymore, everything is like heightened to the 10th degree. Plus you add cameras, it makes it worse. So we then go to Melissa and Joe's house. They're getting ready, you know, for their for their housewarming party. And we see this scene where Melissa's assistant has like a shotgun where you could spray the like an alcohol gun, and she's like pouring the like she like squirts the liquor into Joe's mouth. It gets everywhere, and Melissa was like, not in my house. And I was with her, like, if y'all gonna be using that, do that outside. And then we have this scene where they're talking about how Melissa wants Jackie and Margaret to have a conversation, because she was like, she wished they could be on better terms, and she just hopes that they can talk to each other kindly and nicely. And so she also brings up Jennifer Aiden and how she wants that to go well, and she's kind of okay with them coming. Joe says he wants cool energy, he's gonna be in a good mood. We then see this scene with Jennifer Aiden and Bill at the house, and they talking about it, and Jennifer is nervous, like she's anxious about going to Melissa and Joe's house. Bill's like, how does Teresa feel? And Teresa feel about everything, and Jennifer was like, Teresa just told me not to speak about her, which I'm not going to. She also was like, she doesn't know how to feel about Joe, like, it kind of feels weird going to their house, and I'm not talking to your husband, and I wonder if he's gonna come speak to me. And it's interesting to me that, like, and I think that's why I get irritated with people when they bring up the whole situation between Jennifer Aiden and Joe, because they act like Joe has not done things to Jennifer. Like the fact that they gloss over how he ran up on her during BravoCon and she was by herself, and like he was going off on her and Melissa was standing there smirking and stuff. And it's like, if the roles were reversed, that would have been, they would have talked about that nonstop. But it's like, it's okay for people to do messed up things to Jennifer, but when she retaliates, it's, oh, she's a horrible person and she's insufferable. But it's like, y'all never reprimand or take issue with the way people treat her. So that's why I get irritated when people talk about the situation between them two. But Bill is like, no, it should be fine, we should be cool. And then Jennifer's like, just don't leave my side, which Bill is gonna leave your side, because that's Bill. Bill gonna leave your side. So then we have this scene of Margaret and Joe getting ready, and Margaret pretty much is like not really happy that Jackie's gonna be there, because Melissa told Margaret about Jackie speaking negatively about her at the glitter and steak party, aka the bougie brunch. And I'm like, did she speak bad about her? Because I don't remember Jackie speaking bad about her, but I feel like if she did speak bad about her, they would put that in. So I don't think she did. I just think they all feel like her cozying up to Teresa is weird, which it is, because it's not bad that Jackie wants to be friends with Teresa. It's just the fact that Jackie is trying not to acknowledge that Teresa is the reason why she spiraled and low-key relapsed. So it's just kind of like, ma'am, you should acknowledge that. But but Margaret says she's gonna talk to Jackie when she see her at the party. So it's time for Melissa's housewarming party. So, I mean, it was cute. Like, Melissa's house is nice. I like the fact that the internet bullied Joe into making changes to it, because the outside of that house was ugly. The outside of that house, and it looks a lot better. The inside of the house is nice, but it's too white for me. Like, I need color. Like, I'm like, where are like the reds? Like, and it may be just because like that's how I grew up. My mom's my parents' home is very like colorful. There's like a lot of earth tones, like browns and green and yellow and orange and red and like burgundy. Like, I was like, I don't think your house needs to be a rainbow, but I need color, bro. And there was like no color in there. They have a statue, like I think it's the Michelangelo statue with Joe's face on it, and then a lemon over the penis. I don't get into their humor. Like, I feel like in the beginning I found their humor to be endearing because it's frat bro humor, but like after a while it kind of is corny to me. I'm not gonna lie, it's lame. But first up, we have Danielle and her husband. This is why I feel like Danielle's tagline should not be bougie. Like, it should not be bougie, because the fact that she was in such awe of Melissa's house, I'm like, see, you don't even give off the bougie energy. But okay, the food looked great. That's one thing I will give the Housewives of New Jersey is they eat. And they eat good food. So they were in there eating. I loved it. So they're all walking around the house. We then see Margaret and Marge Sr. and Joe pull up. And then everyone's like, oh, this house is really nice. Then we end up seeing, what's her name? John and Rachel get there. Girl, Rachel wasn't even in that house for 3 minutes before she made a beeline to Melissa. I said, girl, get you a drink. Eat a little bit of like prosciutto. Get you some gorgonzola, girl. Wait a minute. So she runs over to Melissa and is like, Melissa, girl. And she gives her the rundown. She was like, we talked to Teresa for like 9 minutes and then we left. She said, I'm sorry if I said that. No. And I'm like, no, you did say that. Melissa's face is like, oh my gosh, girl. And then like foaming at the mouth to hear this gossip, but you don't like the lady. So why you listening, girl? So then, what's her name? Rachel finally brings up about the Blue Label bottle. And to what Melissa said, like, I don't want that energy in my house. And I agree with her. We not cool, so I don't want a gift from you, ma'am. And so she was like, I'm glad you didn't take it because we don't want that. Like, she could have put an air tag in and all of that stuff. And so, next thing you know, Dolores pulls up with Pauly. Girl, Dolores got the Blue Label bottle. And they walk in the house and Melissa and Rachel are like, girl, is that what I think it is? And she was like, who gave you that? And she was like, Teresa. And they was like, girl. I said, girl, you're messy, Dolores. Like I said, Dolores is messy because Melissa is like, girl, I know you ain't bring that to my house. And she was like, but I did. And she was like, you don't think that's fake? Because last time she talked to me, she said that she never wanted to speak to me. Pretty much we was dead to them. Why would you bring me a gift that's fake? And I mean, I get where Melissa is coming from. And Dolores's response was pretty much like, girl, I didn't ask all of that. She asked me to bring it, so I brought it. Here you go. Do with it as you will. Okay, so then the party, we leave the party and go to the house with Teresa, and we see Teresa making meatballs and I guess sauce, and she was like, oh, she wanted to teach Gia how to make the sauce because Gia is planning on moving in with her boyfriend. And so Teresa is like, I want her to like live on her own before she lives with her boyfriend. And because she was like, I never got that opportunity. My parents didn't allow me to live by myself before me and Joe got together. And I hate when parents are so strict with their daughters because it puts them at a disadvantage. You purposely did not want your daughter to live with a man. And then when she got with that man, he treated her like trash when probably, I don't know if Teresa would have left him before being with him. But if she had been with him beforehand, maybe she could have saw the signs and then left. But you basically like, you messed her over. You put her at a disadvantage pretty much. And so she doesn't want her daughters to do that. And I keep telling y'all, the most redeeming quality about Teresa is the way she loves and parents her daughters. The fact that she was like, I want my kids to experience what I never had. Some people aren't like that. So the fact that she was like, I want them to have that opportunity to live alone and experience those things, that's understandable. So we see Gia come into the scene. She ends up saying that like, she's excited to, move in with her man and all of that stuff. And then Louis and Teresa start reminiscing about when they moved in together. And then they talk about Jennifer going to the housewarming party, and she kind of feeling some type of way because she was like, I don't want the waters to get muddy because it's a lot of people who like John Fugazi who like they not good people. And Gia was right. As long as she's not talking bad about you, it's not that big of a deal. It is not. So then we head back to the party. We see Dolores give everybody else is outside because we finally see Jennifer Fessler pull up, and then we see Dolores and Pauly giving Joe the bottle. And so Joe takes this moment to be so dramatic because it wasn't even needed. Like he wanted a moment so bad. And I said, do it, boy. Do it. Because I'm like, it didn't even need to be that. Like, you could have just pushed that bottle to the back like Melissa. When Melissa came down there, she was like, I'm going to just put it with the other 17 bottles we have. Like, or y'all could have just threw it out. Like, it didn't need to be him having this whole thing about, like, my parents. And I hate how they both use their parents to, like, justify their bad behavior and the nastiness towards each other. It's crazy because he was like, I've done nothing. I said, you've done a lot of things to your sister. You have not loved her unconditionally, like you said. You have put parameters and conditions to that, and you haven't been the greatest brother, just like she hasn't been the greatest sister. They both are the same person. Like Teresa and Joe act like these ultimate victims when they both have been mean and horrible to each other. And I was with Jennifer Fessler when she was like, I don't think it's that deep. Like, I don't think she was doing it to be malicious. And I don't think Teresa was doing it to be malicious, but it is weird. Like, you said they were dead to you. You said you didn't want anything to do with them. And like sending them a bottle is like, it's weird. Joe was like, that's not an olive branch. An olive branch would be her coming to my house when I have nobody, not when it's an audience. And I didn't even think of it that way as an audience, but I'm like, y'all played into it, because if you believe that she did this for an audience, you could have just saw the bottle, saw the gift, and pushed it to the side. But no, y'all kicked it up and kept talking about it. Joe put on this whole Shakespearean monologue and then gonna burn the card. And I said, sir, like if you didn't want it to be a moment, then you shouldn't have made it a moment. So we finally see Jennifer Aiden and what's her name? And Bill pull up, as well as we see Evan and Jackie pull up. Everyone's excited to see Bill, especially Joe. He is gushing at the fact that Bill is at his house and his friend is back. People don't really seem that happy to see Jennifer Aiden, so I understand her being anxious and uncomfortable in that situation. But we see Melissa basically in her confessional talking about Jackie been acting weird, but she's like still my friend, so I was not gonna not invite her to my party, especially because she didn't want to hear Jackie complain about not being invited. And they showed this montage of Jackie like since last season being upset about not being invited. And I feel like that lends to the reason why Jackie is acting the way she's acting and jumping ship from Melissa and Margaret, because it doesn't seem like Melissa and Margaret have been really like advocating for her to be around. Whereas like if you see the way that Jennifer Fessler is always around, and I also think that's because people find Jennifer Fessler like endearing and fun, whereas Jackie not so much. But I feel like Jackie feels like Melissa and Margaret didn't really help her when she got demoted, or really weren't her friends when she got demoted, because they only get paid by each episode that they're on, and people not inviting her to things or them not bringing her to things it sucks for her. She's still being weird, but I can kind of understand to a certain extent why she's like, I'm gonna go be with people that I know I'm gonna get screen time so I can get paid. So we see her fall and they're all laughing about it. And we see all the women up in like the deck area. The men are down by the fire pit where Joe threw the card in the fire. And Melissa's like, well, did y'all telling Rachel, like, did you tell him about your sit down with Teresa? So before Rachel can explain what happened, Dolores chimes in and she's like, all I heard was that somebody called her the poster child for mortgage fraud. And I don't think that's kind of fair knowing the history. And then Rachel's like, Dolores, do you know she said to me that we shouldn't be speaking bad about Jaden's mom? I'm Jaden's mom. Like, I'll punch you in the face. And so Jennifer Aiden and Dolores really didn't have anything to say about that. And it kind of feels like maybe they know more about the backstory between them. And so Jennifer Aiden was like, well, maybe she wouldn't have said that if y'all were able to come to like some type of resolution before. And Rachel's like, no, Jen, she said that as a statement, so she really meant what she said, so that makes it worse. And I said, okay. But honestly, I feel like, again, Rachel and John are doing themselves a disservice. Like, granted, they could be totally justified in their feelings about Jaden's mom, but again, that's Jaden's mom. Like, from what I've been able to piece together from the messy blogs, from the articles that the baby mama did with the son, and like, from John's story, it just feels like it was a very toxic relationship on both ends. And so it's understandable why it ended. But I kind of go back where I'm just like, what if Jaden gets older and he seeks out wanting to have a relationship with his mom? Like, the first person that's gonna get the heat is Rachel, because you're the stepmom. Like, kids will forgive their parents well before they forgive the step parents. And you don't know, maybe he talks to his mom and he sees her side of the story and you guys become the bad guys. And then he watches this show back and hears how y'all speaking about her and feels some type of way. So I would tread lightly on topics about that lady, even if I hated her or really didn't care too much for the lady. You know, so the conversation continues. You got Jackie and the Fezler like in the corner, and Jackie's like, I've never seen someone like hate someone so bad. And I'm like, Jackie, look at yourself. Look at this whole entire cast. Y'all don't like each other. It's evident that a couple of people in this group hate each other. So then Jackie's like, well, Rachel, do you think that like she was defensive because you are friends with Margaret and Melissa? Like, you don't feel like they kind of put you up to this or something like that? Melissa makes a face at Jackie like, really, girl? And Jackie's kind of like, yeah, girl. And so Rachel's like, no, I came there to move forward. And I say, you might have came there to move forward, but not your husband. Your husband did not come there to move forward, ma'am. So the scene switches to the guys having the conversation down at the fire pit, and John is basically doing the same thing Rachel is doing, which is reiterating the sit down that he had with Louis and Teresa. And my thing about this is, John don't want this drug dealer storyline to go away, because if you truly wanted it to go away, you wouldn't keep bringing it up. Like, all he had to say is like, we had to sit down. Teresa didn't apologize. Well, no, she did apologize, but I didn't feel like her apology was sincere. So I'm going to leave it at that. The fact that, again, you got to bring up, I was 17. I was selling, I sold a little bit of weed, even though the streets are saying it was more than that, sir, but I'm going to let you have it. And, I was younger than her daughter. Like, 2 years ago, the whole Gia analogy, and you could tell that Joe was uncomfortable because his body language kind of shifted. And I was just like, why are you bringing up her kid? Even though Gia is an adult, she's 21 years old, but why are you bringing her up? Because you already know how Teresa feels about her daughters, and let Teresa make any mention about your 3 kids, you gonna act like she accosted your bloodline. So I'm just kind of like, you want to have these moments, John, and that makes you really unlikable. That makes your wife unlikable, because I feel like Rachel would move on from this if you wasn't harping on it like this, bro. And so they move on from that conversation. I just think it's dumb. At this point, you went to jail for for moving that weight. That's on you. And I feel like you're ashamed of what you did, because again, if you're saying that happened 20 years ago, which means you're 37, there is no way at the age of 37 somebody could like shame me for something that I did when I was 17, especially if my life is not the same anymore and I've made way better decisions and I'm moving forward with my life. But you are like harping on this, which makes me feel like you have not dealt with the guilt or the shame you feel for doing what you did. So we have this conversation between Jennifer, Aiden, and Danielle about the whole charity event. And Danielle's like, do we have an issue? And Jennifer's like, no, I just feel like the way you behaved when it pertains to Lena was kind of messed up. Like, you don't have to step on people to like get to the top. And I feel like this is rich coming from Jennifer Aiden. And y'all know I like new nose Jennifer, but Jennifer can be very pretentious and condescending. So it's like, for you to try to like police somebody's behavior is kind of like, girl, be quiet. Danielle ends up saying that the reason why she didn't want the girl in VIP because it was a security issue and she kicked her out. Honestly, I don't think this whole situation is that deep for them to have this conversation or to be going back and forth about it. I do agree with Danielle where she was like, y'all should have just had a conversation. It didn't need to be all of this. And I honestly think that Jennifer is making a mountain out of a molehill just to have a storyline, because she wasn't really even invested in the argument. Like, she switched it up to being like, well, you didn't even promote my husband's business. Like, it wasn't that deep. And I don't think it was that deep for Danielle to bring it back up again, because I think Danielle also is like, I need a storyline as well, other than my family and the bougie kids thing, because that can only go but so far. So I just was like, this is kind of stupid. I still think Lena was telling the truth that Danielle kicked her out of VIP. I do think Danielle's behavior is questionable, but I can also see it from her standpoint standpoint of like, we were at this charity event. I wanted an area where it was just us, not everybody else. But I also feel like if nobody had an issue with the girl being in VIP, then it wasn't that deep. Like, it does feel like you just wanted to kick somebody out of VIP. But it is what it is at this point. Jennifer also brings up the fact that she was upset that Danielle wouldn't allow her to bring Laura, which is Margaret's ex-best friend, and the one that told Jennifer that Margaret was telling her that Melissa was out here cheating on Joe with a baseball player. I get why Danielle said she didn't want that lady to be there. And that's also made me feel like Jennifer was just, like I said, making a mountain out of a molehill, because she went from 3 different points in this argument where I was just like, girl, be quiet. So let's talk about the last 10 minutes of this episode. When I tell you that was TV gold, but it was nasty. It was nasty. Oh my gosh. Nasty. It was nasty. I said that the duo you need to watch out for is Margaret and Dolores. Messy Dolores and Margarita trout mouth pigtails Joseph, because Dolores riled Margaret up. Like, she lit the match and Margaret decided to set it ablaze at that party. Now her tagline makes sense. While you busy taking cheap shots, I'm taking screenshots. And she not playing. Because the way Margaret annihilated Jackie and Dolores kicked dirt on her, it was like, ooh, girl. So basically, the rest of the ladies that were on the deck, like, everyone pretty much kind of dispersed throughout the house, and we see Dolores at the bar. So Margaret and Danielle pull up at the bar, and Dolores pretty much asks Margaret, like, hey girl, have you talked to Jackie? Because Jackie was on that deck pretty much saying that she feels like you and Melissa been in Rachel's ear and riling her up. And Margaret is like, that douche, I'm gonna go talk to her. So then you promptly see Dolores follow right behind Margaret, like, okay girl, this about to be good. So Jackie's on the deck. She's with the 2 girls who were supposed to be screening to be friends of the show. It makes sense why they didn't work out, because they have added nothing in the past 7 episodes. So Margaret basically confronts Jackie on the deck, and she's like, girl, did you really tell Rachel that like we put a battery in her back? And Jackie's like, yeah, because y'all, that's what y'all do. Like, Melissa did that thing at Glitters and Steak, and they flash back to what happened when Melissa pretty much was like, Jackie, I'm not gonna let you forget what happened between you and Teresa. And so Melissa chimes in and she's like, Jackie, I honestly have no issues with you being friends with her. I actually wish you good luck. But what we not about to do is act like that lady didn't make you spiral into your eating disorder. Like, you even put that in your book and in your podcast. So then Margaret chimes in, and Margaret's like, Jackie, I really have been there for you. Like, I've really been there for you. I've been like your champion, your friend. And then Jackie cuts Margaret off and she's like, no, you've been trying to take credit for my success. You keep alluding that you're the reason why I got my book deal. Then you made that slick comment about my mom. And Margaret's like, no, I didn't. I was like, Margaret, you did throw slick shade at that lady. And they flash back to the whole thing in the locker room at the baseball field place. So then Jackie ends up walking away after Margaret ends up saying that, like, you're insecure, these are your insecurities and you're projecting. And so not Rachel Jackie ends up being like, you're just mad that I'm friends with Teresa, you're jealous, and I'm not having this discussion with you anymore, Margaret. And so she storms off. But while she leaves, you end up seeing Margaret tell Dolores, you know how many times I've had to talk her off the ledge? But Margaret is like, the last time Jackie spiraled, or I stopped her from spiraling, is the baseball situation. So I guess Dolores posted a picture of them at the charity event. She didn't tag Evan or Jackie in the picture. Jackie ends up messaging Margaret being upset and feeling like Dolores did it intentionally. And I guess she ended up saying some pretty disrespectful things about Dolores. And Margaret is like, she talks negatively about all of us all of us. And I feel like Margaret could have left it there, but I feel like what sent Margaret over the edge to do what she did at the end of the episode is when Jackie drunkenly went into the house and gave Joe, Margaret's husband, a hug, because you hear Margaret clearly be like, girl, don't touch my man. And I'm not mad at that, because if me and you beefing, don't be touching my man. Now, honestly, I think Dolores did not tag Jackie on purpose, because I've always felt like Dolores never really liked Jackie to begin with. I remember the seasons, like the earlier seasons when Jackie was on, Dolores had always this air of like, I remember her saying she doesn't think Jackie fits the group. She never elaborated on it, but she always was like, I don't think Jackie fits this group. So I do feel like she did it intentionally. But even if she did do it intentionally, the way Jackie was talking in them text message just was not that deep. But I also feel like Jackie has FOMO and she is deeply insecure, because you constantly bringing up that you've being left out of things, on top of you mad about not being tagged in a photo. Like, it's not that deep, girl. It isn't. It really isn't. But I do feel like Jackie felt like maybe she had stronger relationships with these women, where like she would still, like, even though she was demoted to friend of, she would still be like in the mix, but they not really featuring her. And I really think that's why she attached her wagon to Teresa, because one thing about it, two things for sure, Teresa, whether or not she's filming with these ladies or not, is always gonna have screen time. And I think that's honestly why Jackie decided to be cool with Teresa, because we don't really see them invite, like Margaret and Melissa invite her to things like that. Like she here or there, but like, you know, Jennifer Fessler always be in the mix. Everybody's in the kitchen, and girl, it went down. So Jackie is having a conversation with Dolores. Jennifer is standing beside Jackie, and Jackie is like, Dolores, why does she have to go so low? So while Dolores and Jackie are having a conversation, you got Margaret and Joe behind Jackie, and I guess Jackie didn't notice where they were, and she was like, oh, so I go low and I'm not a good friend, and I'm this person and that person, oh, I got something for her. So she screenshots the text message conversation that Jackie and her were having about the whole baseball situation, and she sends it to Dolores. She sends it to Dolores, and she tells Joe to get Dolores's attention. Joe, like, you know, picks up his phone and taps on it, and Dolores sees it, and so she puts on her glasses to read the text message. So she's like, oh, I'm just checking on my dogs. And so this is what the text message says. It says, intentional, she tagged every cast member and spouse except me and Evan. So then Margaret responds to Jackie by saying, no, I don't think so. You said it yourself. And then Jackie says, I definitely think intentional, she's a effing slob, I hate her. And then Margaret responds to Jackie by saying, when did she post it? So then Dolores is like, I'm a slob, Jackie, I'm a slob. And when I tell you, the look on Jackie's face was like, she really just did that to me. And she was like, she really just sent you that for real. And I said, well, girl, she got you. So Jackie is trying to plead her case to Dolores. You got Jennifer trying to like look at the picture, which I would have did the same thing. Rachel had the same face I would have had, like, this is nasty, this is about to get bad. And so Jackie was like, it wasn't like that. Honestly, I wouldn't even been mad about the slob comment, because Dolores was like, a slob is a nasty word, and this coming from the person who's always falling apart. But for me, I would have took offense to I hate her, because I'd have been like, girl, it's that you that pressed over a tag, like you tripping. And so Dolores is like, Jackie, give me 5 minutes, like get away from me right quick. And Jackie was like, well, Dolores, you should know she be saying crazy things about you too, you and Paulie, like it's nasty. And Dolores is like, well, she's smart enough not to have proof of it or to send messages. And I said, she got you there, Jackie. And my thing about it is, if I was Dolores, I would be looking at both Jackie and Margaret funny, because why are you that mad over not being tagged in a photo? But I also would be looking at Margaret like, why is she so comfortable talking Cash Money-ish about me, calling me a slob and saying that she hate me? And you haven't corrected her in these text messages, ma'am. Like, what's good with that? But when I tell you Margaret got her, Margaret gagged me, and she gagged Jackie, because I said, ooh, and all Jackie could do was walk away. So then Melissa comes back down to the kitchen, and I guess Margaret tells Melissa what she did, and she basically says, I'm done with her. She's a little psychotic and I'm done with her. And that's another reason why I'm like, y'all were never really friends, because even though Jackie is being weird and her behavior is like very disloyal, it's not to this point where I would be this angry nuking my friendship in this way. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I don't think they ever were friends, but this also proves my point. Y'all know I like Margarita, Trout Mouth, Pigtails Joseph, but I have always said that I believe that she was the cause of that Evan rumor, because of her behavior when her and Teresa sat down, as well as I did believe Laura when she said Margaret was the one talking about Melissa out here cheating and stuff. So this move she pulled lets me know, like, girl, you is a gutter snipe. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in them comments below and share your thoughts with me. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.